Om Gam Ganapatye Namaha, Kaliyugada Kalpataru, the fifth delight, Shri Raghavendra Sarvabhouma, Chapter 25, a display of brilliance. A few days after the earlier incident, another event brought Venkatanatha's remarkable intellect and knowledge to light. One day, Harikatha performance on the Prahalada Charitra was organized at the town's Shri Hari temple. Hundreds of men and women gathered to listen to the divine story. Gopamma, accompanied by young Venkatanatha, attended the event. The women in the audience warmly welcomed Gopamma, offering her a seat among them. Meanwhile, one of Timmannacharya's friends invited Venkatanatha to sit beside him. The Harikatha artist was a renowned Kirtanakara, a devout Smartha Brahmin in his 40s, known for his eloquence and radiance. As directed by the temple authorities, he began the Harikatha with a devotional song in praise of Lord Krishna, seguing into the story of Prahalada Charitra. The performance was engaging and spirited. The artist sang slokas and verses melodiously, captivating the audience. As the tale of Prahalada Charitra unfolded, the story reached the part where Hiranyakashipu's tyranny troubled the gods, prompting them to pray to the Lord for relief. The artist narrated how the Lord, declaring Nirvaraya Prashantaya for the peaceful and without enmity, reassured the gods, promising to destroy Hiranyakashipu and send them away. The Harikatha artist explained the meaning of the slokas beautifully. Then came the part describing Prahalada's virtues. The artist enumerated Prahalada's noble qualities and concluded by declaring Prahalada was born Vaishnava. However, he did not explain the meaning of the term Ajanma Vaishnava before moving on. At this point, young Venkatanatha, who has been quietly sitting until then, stood up and addressed the artist. Swami, revered Dasaru, you mentioned that Prahalada was an Ajanma Vaishnava. Why didn't you explain its meaning? Until Venkatanatha pointed it out, no one in the audience had realized that the artist had skipped explaining the term. All eyes turned to the artist, curious to see how he would respond. Caught off guard, the artist hesitated for a moment and then replied with a smile, Child, this is a well-known fact that there isn't much significance to it, so I didn't elaborate. Venkatanatha, Dasaru, what you said is incorrect. Dasaru, why not? What is so significant of the term Ajanma Vaishnava? Venkatanatha, how can you say such a thing? The entire essence of Prahalada's personality is encapsulated in that single term. All his greatness and glory stem from it. How can you disregard such an important term? Feeling a little embarrassed, the Dasaru retorted sternly, Child, do not ask such foolish questions in the middle of the story. Venkatanatha humbly, please don't be angry, Dasaru. Perhaps my question seems foolish to you, but even Prahalada's so-called foolishness stems from the very term. Please explain its meaning. Dasaru, mockingly, listen, child. Ajanma Vaishnava simply means a Vaishnava from birth. What else is there to explain? Venkatanatha, and what does Vaishnava means? Dasaru, laughing, don't you even know that? A Vaishnava means someone who follows either Ramanujacharya or Madhvacharya. Venkatanatha, seriously? Dasaru, this is no laughing matter. You are a Haridasa. Some people trust for spiritual guidance. Your words influence them deeply. It is your responsibility to teach accurately and guide them on the right path, not mislead them. The Dasaru, though taken aback by the boy's boldness, concealed his embarrassment and replied, Oh, so you think you can give a better explanation? What's wrong with what I said? Venkatanatha, calmly, Swami, please don't be offended by my words. Since you asked, here are the issues. First, not understanding the true meaning of Ajanma Vaishnava is the initial mistake. Secondly, equating Vaishnavism solely with Ramanuja or Madhva's teaching is the second mistake. And the third, refusing to acknowledge these errors is the third mistake. By now, the Dasaru realized that this boy was no ordinary child. He became aware of his own mistake and his arrogance dissolved. Lowering his voice, he said humbly, Child, you are correct. I have erred. Please explain the true meaning of Ajanma Vaishnava. Venkatanatha, Swami, had you reflected on the term Vaishnava, you would have understood its meaning. Do you know why you made this mistake? Prahlada's story is set in the Krita Yuga. Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya established their doctrines in the Kaliyuga. It was only after their teachings that their followers came to be called Ramanujas, that is Sri Vaishnavas, and Madhvas. So, how could Prahlada, who lived in the Krita Yuga, be referred to as followers of Ramanuja or Madhva? In such an interpretation ever plausible? You tell me. The audience was astonished by Venkata's clarity and depth of thought. The Dasuru too realized the mistake and felt humbled. The devout listeners were awestruck by Venkata's reasoning. Dasuru, respectfully, child, you are extraordinary, wise beyond your years, and a deep thinker. I admit my mistake. Please explain the true meaning of Ajanma Vaishnava. Venkatanatha, those who are devoted to Vishnu's supremacy and are steadfast in their worship of him are respectfully called Vaishnavas. Prahlada was a staunch proponent of Vishnu's supremacy and a supreme devotee of Lord Vishnu. He attained the title of Parama Vaishnava. While still in his mother's womb, Prahlada received the knowledge of Vishnu's divine nature from the enlightened Narada. Even before birth, he became a foremost devotee of Vishnu and a champion of Vishnu's supremacy. Thus, the Bhagavata Acharya has celebrated him as Ajanma Vaishnava. This is the meaning endorsed by Vedavyasa himself. Hearing Venkata's explanation and observing his brilliance, all the attendees praised him highly. The Dasuru held Venkata's hand and said, Child, you may be young, but profound wisdom resides in you. In the future, you will achieve great renown as a scholar. Today, I have learned a valuable lesson from you. As you advised, I will ensure my Harikathas are accurate and serve as a proper guide for people. He then resumed the Harikatha, concluding with Prahlada's coronation and singing of Mangala. The laymen, women, and scholars present admired Timanna Acharya and Gopama for having such an extraordinary and intelligent son. Gopama, astonished by her son's wisdom and reasoning, was filled with pride and joy, thinking, I am truly blessed to have such a noble son. She returned home with Venkata, her heart swelling with happiness. One evening, while returning from the temple after having darshan of the deity, Venkata's friends approached him and said, Venkatanatha, you have stopped spending time with us lately. You neither talk to us nor join us for games. Have we done something to upset you? Venkata replied seriously, Not at all, my friends. My father has been teaching me more extensively about grammar, scriptures, and Veena practices. I have become deeply engaged in the studies and have no time for other activities. One friend holding Venkata's hand said, Friend, we have found you today. Come, let us play for a while. Venkata replied, No, my friends, I must focus on my Veena practice and mantra recitation. I have no time for games. Please forgive me. When his friends tried to insist, they led him to a nearby pavilion. Seated there, Venkata addressed them calmly. Friends, becoming overly interested in games at the cost of neglecting your studies is not appropriate. This will disappoint your parents as well. Time wasted on frivolous activities cannot be reclaimed. Instead, you should focus on learning with dedication. That is the right path. Hearing his words of wisdom, the group of boys was moved, realizing Venkata's maturity and the truth in his advice. One friend laughingly said, Venkana, during a lifespan of 100 years, one should play during childhood and study as an adult. Isn't that also logical? Venkatanatha responded, Friend, you are mistaken. Education has no age limit, but one must begin acquiring knowledge from childhood itself. At this age, a child's mind is pure and clear, making learning more effective. Education gained during childhood yields better results. Haven't you heard the story of Prahlada? He advised the demon children. In childhood itself, a wise person should practice the devotional duties and righteous conduct prescribed by scriptures. He thought that wisdom and devotion should begin in childhood through learning and righteous behavior. Your friend here says that in a lifespan of 100 years, one can achieve whatever they desire. But have you considered how this 100 years pass? Our revered Shri Vijayendra Tirtharu Guruguru wrote in Duritapahara Stotra. The meaning of this is that even if one has a lifespan of 100 years, much of his is spent in sleeping at night and other mundane activities. Of the remaining time, youth and old age occupy significant portions, leaving very little productive time for righteous deeds and learning. Hence, we must make use of our childhood to learn, practice righteousness, and work towards becoming wise and virtuous. Hearing this, all the boys said, "Friend, you recited some slokas, but we didn't understand their meaning. What exactly has Sri Vijayendra Guruguru thought through this stotra? How has he prayed to God? Please explain to us." Venkatanatha with joy said, "Friends, this is the right approach. The desire and eagerness to learn are what lead a people to the path of knowledge. Sri Vijayendra Tirtharu, using himself as an example, has taught the noble people of the world how to pray to God. The meaning of this sloka I recited is as follows. The scriptures state that a human lifespan is 100 years. However, O Lord, half of this time, the night time, is wasted like the ritual of offering oblations into water. Only 50 years remain. Of this, 20 years are spent in childhood and other 20 in old age, marked by various elements and idleness. Thus, 40 years are already lost. This leaves only 10 precious years, which are often spent indulging in worldly activities during youth. Lord, in this way, how are we any different from beasts or outcasts? Hence, grant us wisdom, so that even for childhood we can pursue knowledge, dedicate ourselves to your service, and practice the righteous path of Bhagavata Dharma." Venkatanatha passionately conveyed, "This is the prayer taught by Sri Vijayendra Tirtharu to guide us. Thus, wasting time in play and neglecting education, causing sorrow to our parents, is not justified. Tell me if this is fair." Venkatanatha's heartfelt advice had a positive impact on the boys. They realized their mistake and resolved to change their ways. They said, "Friend, what you said is right. From now on, we will study diligently and follow your advice. But you must be our companion and guide us on this path." Hearing their words, Venkatanatha was delighted. He replied, "Friends, I am glad. My support will always be with you. Learn well and earn a good reputation." Saying this, he bid them farewell and returned home. Hari Om. Om Sri Krishnarpanamastu.